I'm your host, Blain, and I'm joined by my co-host, Smith.
Good evening.
Now, I know in the last episode we were talking about us being stuck to one episode a week. Well, we're taking advantage of being available at the same time, and we're just going to pop off another show and talk about, in this time, the draft and preview the Caps game. So, Matt, what the hell's going on with this NHL entry draft thing?
Let's just say I don't like it. I'll just start with that. Elliot
Yeah.
Friedman the other day posted a tweet said the NHL has officially notified teams it would like to hear their opinions on decentralization of the draft, which means having clubs stay at home while prospects attend NFL, NBA style. If there is a desire for change, would most likely be in 2025, outside chance for 2024. Pierre LeBrun also kind of retweeted that and put his own spin on it. Says this stems from a conversation some governors had with Gary Bettman at the Board of Governors meeting October 4th in New York City, because the draft for next June still hasn't been finalized. League's still trying to nail down a venue in Vegas. We all think that it's going to be at the Las Vegas Sphere, which I think would be awesome, but
Yeah.
we don't know that as of yet. So back to the tweets. Some governors asked Bettman why the need still to have everyone show up at the draft. Why not do like other leagues, etc., decentralized? Bill Daly sent out a memo to team presidents and GMs yesterday asking for feedback on it. This was a topic that they talked about on that talkie during the TSN panel, and they said Darren Dreger kind of pointed out that don't be surprised if this happens, which I think would be a big kick in the nuts to the NHL. To be honest, I get that there's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of money that goes into this. However, when you look at the things that the NHL does right, there's not a lot of them that we
Yeah.
can kind of agree on. And one of the things they do right is the NHL draft, and it's getting everyone together and having that fan experience, having the opportunity to look over there and be like, hey, there's I've been to five of them. I think you've been to six or seven. Um, and being able to just be like, Curry Price is over there, and being able to actually talk to the person, or the amount of people that I've been able to meet, fan wise. I've met GMs, I've met team presidents, I've met players, etc. I know you've done the same. We've met some of these guys that have got drafted that have went on to have great NHL careers. um I just think that this is the wrong thing to do. um is it probably all about money? Absolutely. I just think that it would just be the wrong reasons. Like, it would literally just be, so think of the NHL draft, everyone. You've got Gary Bettman coming up on stage. Everyone boos the shit out of him.
Mm,
He brings up, it could be the second coming of Christ coming up on stage with him. Still going to get booed. All it's going to be is maybe a GM, maybe a team president, maybe a couple representatives with the player, or they're going to do it, say, full NBA or NFL style, where it's literally just the player and the family. The player gets called up, gets a bro hug from Gary Bettman, and then they're like, okay, on to the second pick. Like, it's just it. I would not attend something like that. I know I would not. I
no,
just think
and
it just takes away from the whole experience.
I agree. I agree. I think this is actually the way they do it now is done. It's done right. Um, I know this is a money thing, like you mentioned, because they got to travel to a location, do the draft, and then travel back to their home to the city they're from, and then do free agency. So why not just bring the draft up closer to free agency so that they can just do it all in once?
Yeah.
You can do it all there because
There
when you
was
go,
even a few people that recommended that,
yeah.
having the first day of free agency kind of pushed into like the third day of the draft type thing, and
Mhm.
have everybody there. So then if there are deals to be made, or if there's trades or anything, well, everything's done right there, and then you've got microphone in hand to talk about, talk to New York about the big signing they made or whatever else, right? I do get it from a logistical standpoint, and having your own kind of team hub and everything like that. I just think it's something that the league does very well, and I'd be, it would upset me if they changed the format.
Yeah, because that fan experience when you're in the city, like
Yeah,
we've covered the draft before.
yeah,
You're in that city, everybody's there.
right.
How many times do you think you're going to have an opportunity to sit down in a random bar
Yeah,
and run into the GM of Malmo? You know,
right,
he's
right. Yeah,
or
yeah,
or the Halifax Mooseheads, or uh, a GM, an NHL GM like Bill Guerin, for instance,
right, right,
who's been on our show a couple times.
right.
So like, this is how we get to meet these people, and
Absolutely.
that's fun. But you think about the television aspect, being in the arena, great. But when they have it set up now where the first round is a televised event that people look forward to.
Yes.
Now, yeah, it takes a little bit of extra time that you'd think in between each pick, but that gives them time to televise a breakdown, to put the player on, talk to the GM for a minute or two, and then move to the next one.
Right.
So it's set
I
up
said
perfectly
they
for
do it
TV.
right. They do it right.
Yeah, and they want to change it because that's what they do. They don't screw with whatever works. If it's working, let it be.
Yeah. And we were just in Nashville, and so the amount of people that we were able to run into, or just, the restaurant that we went out to the first night, the
Yeah,
whole Canadians staff was at the same restaurant as us.
yeah.
Not by design. They were probably there because of us, but right.
They followed
But
us. They followed us.
right. But like we run into so many people while we were there, and well, just looking at, like, we met at the draft, right? We met in Florida. I met Trege in Dallas. So like it's been quite an experience, and to be able to do this kind of stuff has been a lot of fun, and it's something I look forward to every year.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that I won't be able to do it this coming summer. We all know it's going to be in Vegas, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
There's a couple of locations in Vegas that they're looking at. It would have been an amazing time to go to Vegas, hang out with you guys, watch the
absolutely.
draft, cover the draft. That would have been amazing, but can't do it. And now the NHL's talking about ruining one of the few things they do right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
you
found
turn
it
it
a
into
little
the
bit
NFL
weird.
draft.
Yeah, but I did feel I found it a little bit weird, because generally at the end of the draft they say, "Hey, we'll see you next year in city X," right? And they didn't do that this year. And
Yeah,
then when they started talking about, like, this is when free agency is going to be, and this is when um the trade deadline's going to be, this is going to be when the draft's going to be, they never kind of drop that in. There's been a lot of rumors about Vegas, and now they're talking about the Sphere again. I think that would be really, really cool. Um, but again, this is just something that, in my opinion, like, don't mess this up. Like, don't mess this up for the fans. It's something that you guys do right. It's again, like, it would be very upsetting if this changed, because
yeah, I
I
agree.
don't know about you, like, it would just kill the experience, because, like, how many times have we just been sitting there, and it's like, it's like, hey, this person's talking to this person. Oh, I wonder what's going on there. And it's just kind of like a show within a show, you know what I mean? And there's been times where it's like, to see the reactions, and everything like that. Um, Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there in Montreal, but, like, look when the Kirby Doc trade broke down,
Yeah,
and you've got Hughes there. He just trades Romanov, who's a fan favorite at the time. He hears some booing, and it's like he's just kind of sitting there with a grin on his face. Then all of a sudden they announce Kirby Doc, and it just pans over to him, and he's got that grin on his face. And again, like, I just think it would kill the experience. I
yeah.
really do. And you brought up a good fact, just being able to see these people just walking on the streets, and obviously you're not going to bother everybody you see, but just having the opportunity to have a drink with one of these people or something, like it's something you always remember.
Yeah. And like you were talking about with the cameras panning to GMs and watching the conversations, that's one of the few interactive experiences that the NHL actually has that the fans really do enjoy.
Yeah.
So changing it doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But hey, that's the NHL and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Um, we're not going to solve the NHL's problems in 10 minutes. But hey, why don't we just leave it at that and move on to the game that we're going to preview? And that's the Capitals visiting the Canadiens tonight in Montreal. So it's two teams that are struggling, starting right off. Um, and I'm kind of concerned because Ovechkin hasn't registered a shot in 2 games. And he's coming into Montreal where he absolutely lights it up. So
He
I'm
also has,
afraid that we're
he
going to
also hasn't
see
scored a
a
goal.
lot. Exactly. I have a feeling that's going to change.
I think so too. For a guy that is who shoots the puck as often as he does, scores as often as he does, to only have 4 shots in 3 games and not have a goal. Yeah, something's going on there.
Yeah.
You know what? The guy's getting older. He's in his late 30s. However, he still has that passion. He still wants to break that record. He almost killed Erik Karlsson in the first game of the year at center ice with that hit.
Yeah.
So we know that drive's still there. But they're a team that's not necessarily in a rebuild, but they're in a retool. They're under a new coaching staff. Um, so that might be a part of it, and they're still find their legs. However, um, a guy like Ovechkin's never a guy that you can kind of take out of the fight. So I'm assuming that he's going to have one of those games, or at least a lot of chances against the Canadians. And that doesn't bode well for the Canadians. Let's just say that. However, you look at the Canadian side of it, they just played an awful, 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 awful game
Yeah.
against Minnesota. And now they've been off since Tuesday. So are they going to be well rested and come into this game and show and have something to prove and maybe not take so many goddamn penalties? Or the struggles going to continue within their lineup?
Taking those penalties, I want to point that out. That lack of discipline that they've had the first 3 games has cost them. Now you have Ovechkin coming into town who hasn't recorded a shot
Oh,
in two
yeah.
games,
Yeah.
and he's motivated.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's he's missed out on a shot on net in 19 games out of his entire career.
Something like that. Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
now he walks into Montreal, a team that is leading the league in penalties,
Yeah.
minor penalties at that, and you give him every chance to take shots
Yeah.
on a power play.
Yeah.
This is not going to work out well
Yeah.
if the Canadians
I'm
do
just
not
gonna
play
throw I'm
discipline.
gonna throw out some like crazy stats right now. 3 games into the year for Washington. Ovechkin has an assist. Wilson has an assist. Backstrom doesn't have a point, and Kuznetsov doesn't have a point. John Carlson's got a goal and an assist.
And they're shooting that as a team, they're shooting 2%.
And they haven't scored a power play goal.
I think that's going to change.
So again, if Montreal is undisciplined the way that they have been, and they allow for a team like Washington with the firepower of Alexander Ovechkin, even at 38 years old, they are not good at killing penalties. If we have seen it how many times in Ovechkin's career, all he does is stand there. That's all he needs to do. He still
Yeah.
finds ways to put the puck in the back of the net, and he's a big game performer when it comes to playing against the Canadians.
Yeah, there is that. And there was another storyline that could have happened in this game, and that's the return of Joel Edmondson. However, shocking,
Yeah, he's
he is
injured.
out injured on the long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah. So is Max Pacioretty. Also injured.
It seems that anybody who's played for Montreal is hurt.
Yeah.
It's just hard to see. But back to the Caps anyway. Even without him, their defense isn't that bad. They haven't found their rhythm. And
No.
going up against a weaker team in Montreal, they could. But like you said, Montreal's coming off a really shit game.
Yeah.
They'll be motivated to play better, to show the fans a better show than what they put on against Minnesota, because that was awful.
Oh, if you need a laugh as well, Charlie Lindgren, who also used to play with the Canadians, he was just put on the injured reserve as well.
Jesus. See what I mean?
This is so
Fuck you,
bad.
Jobu.
This is so bad.
I know. It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Now, the like I mentioned a little bit earlier, their biggest issue is staying out of the box. We talked about in the last episode, 5-on-5, the Canadians control the play. They're
Yep.
over 52% on puck possession. Expected goals for, I think they're closer to 60%, around 57 to 60,
Yep.
somewhere around there. So a 5-on-5, strong team. On the power play or the penalty kill, shit team. So they got to stay out of the box
Yep.
to start.
Yep.
And they got to get a little bit better on the power play.
They do. They do.
At the very least, generate some momentum. They don't need to, like, it would be nice if they scored, but to
Don't let
actually
it
keep
be
the
in.
puck in the
Yeah.
other
Don't let
team's
it be
zone.
in a momentum killer.
Exactly. You don't want
At
to give
this
up shorthanded goals.
at this point, they're a better 5-on-5 team. It's like at this point, it's like you take the slash and then just punch the guy in the face because you may as well play 4-on-4 because it's probably your best bet.
Yeah, it really is.
Like
Now,
it's kind of insane. But to think about it, we've talked about this season after season. It really hasn't improved.
it really hasn't. It's been a couple of seasons now, and wow, it's just not been that great. Really not. Um, yeah, so I don't know. They're not I want to see something different from the power play as well. I don't want to see this drop pass crap and
Oh,
have
it's so
everybody
bad.
just standing still
It's
on the
so
blue line.
bad. Everyone just stop at the blue line, drop pass, and it
Yeah.
goes out. Yeah.
You got a higher percentage of success just by dumping it in,
Yeah.
which that isn't that high. Doc was really the guy that really pushed the controlled zone entries. Like he was capable of doing it. That's one of his strengths. Without him, they're kind of in limbo with that. So they only have that little drop pass bullshit to come in with speed on one guy. They need to find a way to make controlled zone entries and then keep the puck in there.
Yeah. But
Get a couple shots.
their problem is the opposition sees them and they say, well, no
Yeah.
one's gonna skate in and blow by me. Right. The Canadians don't have a lot of those guys on their team that is just gonna it kind of be a one-man show. We've got guys that can put the puck in the net, and a guy like Caulfield can shoot it from anywhere. But again, he's probably not going to go through three guys himself,
True.
right? So
Hmm.
something's gonna happen. Let's just say that. For
Yeah,
me, I'm looking to see what's going to happen between the pipes. I'm assuming Allen's going to get the start,
that's my assumption too.
right? I'd like to see kind of what some of these lines are going to look like. If we're going to have a similar lineup to that of Minnesota, which took a hell of a lot of penalties and looked like shit, or if there's going to be some tweaks to the lineup.
If we can see a strong game from both the Suzuki and New Hook's lines, I don't see any reason why the Canadians couldn't win that game.
Yeah,
I do believe that we're going to see Barron slot in
yeah,
and get some time there, which might help the puck movement because he's a decent puck mover. So we'll see how that works. A strong game from Newhook, who's leading the team in goals. Caulfield, who, if the Canadians get any power plays, might actually be the guy to light it up for them.
right.
Uh,
Well,
we all know he's the
they've
one,
only scored the one power play goal this year, and he's got it.
and
So
it was him. So everyone knows he's the weapon. So they need to find a way to I don't know,
We gotta make that
use someone
weapon
else.
less predictable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and even the move, even the move to Suzuki, it's a move that everyone knows. They're gonna pass it up to him close to the blue line. He's gonna do his little skate in, and we've seen it. It's been effective at times, but teams know it. They're the only two
He'll
people.
get
They're
the
the only
puck at
two
this.
people that are gonna shoot.
That's right. He gets the puck on a pass around the hash marks, then he'll circle back and then come
Yeah,
back in on a curl and shoot.
yeah. So all they gotta do is like, okay, where's Suzuki right now? Not in a shooting position. It's going to Caulfield. Everyone shifts this way.
Yeah,
And then it's like, okay, Caulfield, we've got covered. Oh, Suzuki's. Oh, let's just all shift that way. It's easy,
yeah.
right? And it's we've seen a little bit of progression there, I guess, when it comes to a little bit of puck control. Obviously, having a guy like Matheson out there is going to help, but the results still haven't come. And I say again, I don't want to sound the alarm yet. We're only 3 games into the year, but at the same time, you've got a team in Tampa who's started off pretty slow, who's going through injuries themselves, especially to one of their top players in Vasilevsky. Toronto hasn't been all that good. Yes, they beat Montreal and came back and won, but they haven't been the cup champion Maple Leafs that everyone expected them to be as of yet. So there's opportunity there. And if you can score some points earlier in the season, you might have a better chance than you think.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we are previewing the game. We've talked about Ovechkin. We've talked about the Canadiens' issues and their one and only star being the one and only weapon on the power play. But what do you expect to see in this game that we didn't see from the Canadiens in the last one?
I want to say what I don't want to see first. I don't want to see just an unnecessary fight for no reason. A lot of people are already saying, oh, Jack Eye or Pozzetta has to fight Tom Wilson. No, they fucking don't.
No.
Okay. Stop going in with the notion that player X needs to fight player X. Like it doesn't need to happen every night. There's there's uh there's a reason fighting is down in the league. There's the stage fights don't really happen as much as what they used to. Um, I don't think that it needs to be, and I don't think it needs to happen. If it does happen, hopefully it's for a reason. It's not just like, oh, I just need to fight this guy, right?
And you don't want to
I
do it.
I enjoy fights. I enjoy fighting just as much as anybody else. But don't go into with the notion that he has one of those two has to fight Tom Wilson for it to be a successful game or anything like that. What I also don't want to see, a guy in Anthony Mantha who has struggled mightily in the 2 games that he's played. However, he's from Quebec, so is he going to score 7 goals? Maybe
No,
6,
more like
right?
3. More
Right,
like 3.
but we'll see. What I would like to see, though, again, cut down on those power play opportunities for the other team. Again, stay out of the box and make the most of the chances that you're going to get because you're playing against a team that is in a rebuild or a retool. They're kind of down on themselves right now, so take advantage of that. Right? They played well against Toronto. Yes, they penalties killed them, and they end up losing that game. But then you beat Chicago. You laid in it. You were awful against Minnesota. So let's bring that. Show why you deserve to be on the line that you're playing on because we talked about it in the last show. There's a lot of opportunities here, and if some of these guys can, um, and we got Dvorak coming back as well. So if some of these guys want to stay in the positions that they're in, and either not be sent down or sent down the lineup, it's time to step up.
Yeah. No, they absolutely do need that. What I would like to see is something similar to the first game where they're playing Toronto. Now, Washington is one of the oldest teams in the league, and
Yeah.
they're a lot slower than they have been in the past. And the Canadians are one of the youngest and are very fast. So if they can play with the speed they played with against Toronto and they take the game to Washington, I I don't see why they wouldn't take the win. They
Yep.
would be able to push the other team on its heels, and that would mean the Canadians aren't taking stupid penalties because they're not chasing the play like they had been. Um, and yeah, like you, I don't want to see any staged fights. I don't want to see any like an organic one, sure, but you got to be very careful because Jackeye, when he fought Reeves, he ended up out in the box for 17 minutes. You don't
Yeah.
want to lose
Yeah.
a guy for 17 minutes.
Right.
So they got to be careful with that. But if they play it, they play with to their strengths. They play with speed, and they they come at the Capitals. They have a very good chance of winning.
They do. They do. Like there's no reason that they shouldn't be competitive in this game.
Yeah, and we'll see how the goaltending holds up. Who's in net? Maybe it's Primo. Maybe it's Allen. We're not too sure,
Yeah.
but my guess is Allen.
I would think so. I think that it would be the wrong move if they put Primo in, especially against a team in Washington. And we already talked about Ovechkin, and he's going to be hungry. He sees a AHL goalie in net, and he hasn't scored a goal yet this year, and he's hungry, and the team hasn't scored a power play goal this year. Yeah, he's going to shoot like 170 shots on that, right? So,
Yeah.
oh, I've got the puck at the blue line. It's going towards the net. Oh, I just come off a line change. I'm at center ice. It's going towards the net. So I think the best thing would be to be go with the veteran, go with Jake Allen, and again, it's too bad that we're not seeing Pacioretty back in the lineup for Washington making his debut,
Yeah.
Joel Edmondson, etc. Even Charlie Lindgren, to be honest, but it is what it is. We've talked about the curse or the hex or voodoo or whatever, scurvy or whatever the hell they've got, right? So it's the same story every year, it seems, and let's just hope that a guy like Gooley will be back in the lineup soon.
Well, I just sacrificed half a cow on my barbecue
Yeah,
in the hopes that it ends the curse.
yeah.
All right. So, final thoughts before we end the show.
If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe. And we're trying to obviously build up that base. Um, Follow us anywhere that you listen to podcasts if you're not already doing so as well. We're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on iTunes or well, Apple
Yeah.
Podcasts, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And don't forget all the other podcasts are out there. We're not the only ones that are out there. We like to have fun and we like to interact with all those other guys. So go ahead, and we're not gonna bitch at you for saying that you like them as well. Just remember to keep coming back to us at the end of the day.
Yeah. We don't care who else you like as long as you like us too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I echo everything Matt just said, and I really, really do want to encourage everyone to keep sending us emails and interacting with us on all the social media platforms, TikTok, uh, Instagram, all of them. Threads, we're on Threads as well. Um, as X is dying out, we're going to be branching out to all the other ones a little bit more so. So keep an eye on that. Keep interacting with us, sending the emails. And I want to thank you all for still listening. It's 7 seasons into this podcast, and we're still going strong. So it's because of you guys that actually tune in and listen. So I want to thank you for that. And remember, if you're talking about it,